Linda Schwartz. Be honest. You were not expecting this face. One time in New York, this lady was like, I wasn't expecting that nose either. You don't look like a Schwartz. You look more like a good Asian Jew. So I was born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. And when I say raised, I don't mean by my parents. I was bounced around like a hot potato. Like, you take her. No, you take her. No, you take her. Until the state of Georgia stepped in and was like, y'all need to stop that right now. We'll take her. So I became a foster kid. And being an Asian kid in foster care in the South is kind of like taking egg rolls to a low country boil. Like, if you don't know what a low country boil is, it's just a seafood cookout for country white folks, okay? Like, you know the egg rolls don't belong there, but now you've got to put them somewhere. And the hostess is like, should we put these by the ambrosia salad or the coleslaw? And the husband goes, well, you ought to put them by the napkins because you're going to need one to pick them up. I know. I saw you pull back on that one. I pull back on that one a little bit, too, because then it sounds just a little itty-bitty, teeny, tiny little bit racist. Some of you are like, wait, is she talking about egg rolls or Asian kids? Because I could go for an egg roll right now. And, sir, you look like you could go for an Asian kid. So I married a Jewish guy, and he is 14 years older than me. And one day out of the blue, he goes, I think we should get married by the end of the year. And I was like, okay, why? And he goes, because of the tax benefits. And I was like, ew, oh my God. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh my God. He wants me as a dependent. Hell yeah. But then the real proposal came, and I have to tell you, ladies, it was the most romantic thing a man has ever said to me. I mean, he didn't get down on one knee or anything because, you know, he's old. But he goes, you don't have to work if you don't want to. And I was like, for real? And he goes, if you don't want to. And I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to. So now I am a stay-at-home mom, and all I do is work. All I do is work. So it turns out being a stay-at-home mom is a lot like being a ghostwriter. You do most of the work, get a few fringe benefits, but none of the credit. Okay, so now I am the administrative assistant, executive chef, property manager, building maintenance, IT department, social calendar manager, snack dispenser, Uber driver, and the motivational speaker, and the very, very, very occasional blow job giver of the Schwartz household. And it sucks because there is no HR department where I can file my grievances because I am the HR department, and I complain to myself every day. Every morning, I'm like, girl, if this motherfucker gets motherfucking cross with me one more time, that is it. I quit. And then the other side of me is like, ma'am, I understand your concern and your frustration, but he is only 3. Stay-at-home mom is like the worst paying job I've ever had. And I am a stand-up comic, okay? Like, I think about quitting all the time, but I can't because the benefits are so good. I get good health insurance, I got a 401k, and I got that primary beneficiary status. You feel me? And the plan is that he is going to expire before I do. That's the plan. Okay, what do you think?
Nothing more on my mind. I got 2 shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. always achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
let her get her shit together. That's what we were saying. Can you hear me in the mic? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you too.
Awesome.
This was hilarious because I mean, Linda, thank you first of all for checking something. Like as you're walking up the stairs into the studio, I asked you, "Are you willing to take a risk?" And you were like, "Depends on the risk." Now,
I feel like that's my whole life.
Okay, but this is the first time that we've got to spend any time together. I saw you at a comedy club,
yes,
which is Playgrounded, amazing, the best comedy club in Carlsbad, probably the only one. Probably one of the most different environments you've ever been in.
It was lovely. I loved every second of it.
But walking into this place and me saying, "Are you willing to take risks?" What was going through your head at this second?
Like, oh fuck. Okay, here we go. What does this entail? I see a salon downstairs, and I walk in, and I'm like, I have no idea what I just said yes to, but here I am.
So when I asked too, I mean, and for those of you guys listening, Linda just did a set to a camera. And as a comedian, as a speaker, as anybody, to do anything to a camera, and you murdered it. Like it was unreal. And you know what you just did? You just jumped off something with our podcast. This has never been done in the history of. This is 597th episode, almost 600.
Yes.
And I have dreamed of that happening. For, I'm telling you, probably about 4 or 5 months, I've been thinking, how can I make this thing happen?
Yes.
And you made it happen.
We just said yes.
Yes.
That's all we did. That's all we did. Never know what yes is going to get you, you know? And sometimes that's kind of what life is all about, is just saying yes. When you have no idea what the outcome is, what they're going to ask of you, how it's going to turn out. I mean, I was like, yeah, that's not too much of a risk. I can look at a camera and say some words. And
also to think about, I mean, the clubs that you've played, you know, you've done Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club. We've done the La Jolla Comedy Store. Yeah. You know, you've done all these places, been featured in these amazing places. And then here's this guy that says, "Hey, can you stand in the studio by yourself, look into a camera?" But how are you able? Like, is that how you practiced growing up? I mean, growing up in the industry.
Well, you know, I mentioned this earlier. So when I started stand-up comedy,
were you trying to just tell me that you had already told me this? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, but apparently you were listening. So now this is your opportunity.
We've got a great relationship already.
And you know, it's fine. It's fine. It really is. No, so so when I first started comedy again, it was I started a long time ago. I started like back in 2012, and it was like I had an on and off relationship with it because I had like all this trepidation about getting on stage. I had a lot of like stage fright. I had a terrible case of stage fright, and then I put it off, got back on, and I've only been doing stand-up comedy consistently for like the last 3 years. But after I started, it was like right after I had my kid. So I was doing the stay-at-home mom thing. I was a mom, a wife, you know, doing like all the jobs that I mentioned. That's for real.
Yeah.
Like that's not a joke. That's for real. I do all that. Even the blowjob. Okay. So when I started stand-up, I couldn't justify leaving my son at home doing, you know, like having bedtime with just dad.
Why not? Just put him to bed, because comedy clubs don't go on till 7, 8 at night. You could put him down early. Be disciplined. You just want to be disciplined.
Any kids?
I have 2.
Okay.
I don't have to put him to get bed anymore, though.
Yeah, but you remember how it is, like in the beginning. It's really hard. And as a mom, like I just didn't want to miss the time with him.
So you just weren't dedicated to your craft.
Well, I had to find a different way to be dedicated. Okay. But so I just didn't want to miss that time, and I was like, well, how do I create a creative process for myself that's going to honor like my craft and also lend me to be home with my son. Yeah. So what I did was I just created this process for myself where I would write my set. I literally rented a dance room, a rehearsal room in the back of some lady's house in 4S Ranch or wherever she lives. Uh-huh. And I would tape my set on the mirror, bring my microphone, and I would just do my set.
Was the microphone plugged in?
No, of course not. It was just amazing. A prop.
That was the first podcast we did. The microphone was not plugged in. I just put it in front of me. And when I videoed it, and it was horrible, absolutely horrible. But so you have a microphone. If you bring your microphone just a little bit closer to you, then we'll be able to hear. Yes, there we go. So you go into the studio. You have a microphone that's not plugged in.
That's not plugged in.
You're in a dance studio by yourself.
I'm in a dance studio by myself. I tape my set onto the mirror, and I just do my set the way that I would imagine myself doing it to a crowd.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, like, in my mind, put me off the hook for doing open mics because I just didn't have the time. And so I would do that over and over and over. And then when I needed to extend my set, I would do that. And you know, when I got into the room, I would do like vocal exercises, yoga, just warm my body up. Because I look at it as kind of, I mean, my body is my instrument. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what I would do. And then I would, you know, go out and book shows and the first, when I extended my set, it was like the end of like 2022. And I went from like 5 minutes to like 15 minutes. And I did that. And then the first show I booked is the clips where I'm wearing that brown sweatshirt. Yeah. And it killed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I think I just found my thing. Yeah. You know, like, and then I've refined my set over time, but the first time I did it, it wasn't incredibly polished, but because I'd done it so many times in the studio, it felt like I'd done it a million times on stage.
So take me through the feeling of that first one when you go to the first club, because it's almost like what I've seen. I don't know this, but it's almost like a fraternity or a group of guys that have been doing it for a while.
Oh, always.
You come into that scenario, you're the newbie, and they're checking to see if you can hang.
Yeah, and that feeling is brutal. It's so brutal.
Is it like high school? Is it like high school or junior high?
Of course, because you're like, I just want to fit in. I just want to belong. Can somebody please love me? Can somebody please just say hi to me? Can somebody please just acknowledge that I'm here? Can somebody please just say that I'm good at this? You know what I mean?
Well, you in grade school though, you were in the South at this time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't look like anybody. Because I lived in the South. You didn't look like anybody. So all the ladies were probably mad at you because you didn't look like them. The boys wanted to talk to you. The girls were mad at the boys because they wanted to talk to you.
I was an exotic commodity, if you will. But I didn't feel like that. I felt like an outcast. I felt different. I mean, I still feel different. I still feel like I'm an outsider.
You live in La Jolla. You're not an outsider.
That's because I got a rich white man. I still feel like I am that I don't belong in La Jolla.
Oh, get out of here!
Just because I'm
just
there.
get you a Gucci bag and you'll walk around with some Louis Vuitton boots on and you'll be fine. You'll just fit right in. You'll fit right in.
It still feels different. It does.
But take us back to the comedy club. The first time you go in, you're warming up for the set. Do you do a 15-minute set or you do a 5-minute set the first time?
The very, 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 very first time.
Well, how many varies are there? That was a lot.
I know.
I said very, and you went to the very, 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 very.
The one.
I thought we were going to one up it. I thought at first we were going to, I was going to call you and then you were going to raise me, but you just went to the verily,
I know.
down the road.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
My apologies. But the very first time I did it, I did like a 5-minute set at a winery, and I invited like 20 of my friends.
Is it good to invite the friends to your set, or you should go stranger?
When you're starting out.
Do you need strangers?
Well, you know, it feels better when you get laughs from people that you don't know.
Okay, got it.
Because the people who are there and they're supporting you, they love you, so they're going to laugh at everything that you say.
Yeah.
So the first time I did it wasn't a good, gauge of it because the venue didn't invite anybody.
None?
They did zero marketing.
So it was just your friends?
So it was just
So you
my
had a
friends.
party.
I had a party.
You had a party?
Yes, for myself.
For yourself?
There was
Way to
20
go.
people.
That's awesome.
And actually, the producer after that show was like, "This is the most money I've ever made." I was like, I was the only one who sold tickets? What? I'm not going to throw him under the bus like that, but
You want to say his name?
I'm going to say it later.
Yeah. Just don't say his middle name. Say his first and last, but we'll keep the middle out of there.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah. Mr. Williams, you're in a lot of trouble, man.
Oh!
So it didn't sell any tickets. You sell the tickets you just go for 5 minutes?
I went for 5 minutes, and they were like, "Wait a minute," and my first 5 minutes was trash.
Trash?
Trash.
The first 5 minutes?
I felt like it was trash.
Okay.
But people laughed. They enjoyed it.
What's
they
the
came up.
What's the cardinal sin of starting? Because that's the toughest part. Like I
What
found,
do you mean when you say that?
Well,
That's like
when you-
biblical terms, and I'm not.
No.
very-
When you come on the cardinal sin of stand up or speaking, say in speaking, like doing keynote, when you walk out, if you ask a question to the audience, it's a rookie move. Hey everybody, how are all of you doing?
Yeah, same.
You know, it doesn't. What is that the same?
Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. Like one of my she's a good friend now, but she was one of my teachers. She was like, "Do not get on stage and say, 'Hey everybody, how you doing?' Give it up for your host." That's like the worst thing. She's like, "Just go straight into your material. Go straight into it."
Do you want to go like almost mid-story? You know, because I've found at times there was a story that I told about my son, and I did the lead up one time, and I went to and it bombed. It was awful, and I did the lead. Hey everybody, how are you doing? I want to tell you a story about my son. And then I sat down and I was like, what am I, Mr. Rogers? And then it was different when I said VIP tickets are crazy. It was almost the middle of the sentence that I started with. Do you start with the middle? You start with the end? You hit one.
Well, I mean, my opener is like Schwartz, Linda Schwartz. Because when you look at me, you're like,
I remember.
right?
I remember. I was sitting in the front row.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the front row. And you asked me, like, why would I ask you? And I'm like, why wouldn't I ask you to be on the podcast? Like, you killed at Playgrounded. I mean, unreal. Me and my wife laughed so much. And the walk that we had home, there was a lot of traffic. It's like 150 yards from the comedy club. And as we were walking home, I was just like, "Oh, you are unbelievable."
Oh my gosh!
Unbelievable.
Thank you so much for saying that. That really means a lot to
Well,
me.
now I want to take you off that high horse and go back to that first set, the 5
where
minutes where you bombed. So take me back. I'm a good therapist. You know what I mean? I want to keep you humble, Linda. I want to keep you
humble.
keep you as humble as possible. So you go to that 5 minutes. What are you feeling? Are you sweating? Do you have that
Always.
interior sweat? Like,
Dude, I used to suffer from a terrible case of stage fright. And this time was a little bit better because, like, I think a lot of women can relate to this because after you have your kid and you're 30 hours in labor and you're enduring, like, all this.
hours.
I was 30 plus.
good Lord. Was that a flex? That was
Natural, I was
that
at
sounded kind of
home.
like a flex right there.
I
You were kind of,
mean,
you know, you were
you
just low key,
know.
just 30 hours. Any
You
of you
know.
under 30, you guys, nah, you guys are weak.
Bitches. No.
Epidural?
None. I had
What?
my baby at home.
Don't tell me you had it in a bathtub with like a
I
doula.
did. I did.
You did?
I'm one
Are
of
you
those
joking?
bitches. No.
I
I'm
I
not.
was just throwing that out there.
No, I'm serious. I had a home birth. It was all
In a
natural,
bathtub?
in a bath on my deck outside.
Is your child's name River?
It's Huxley.
Okay, there we
After
go.
Aldous
Yes.
Huxley. If you
There we
know
go.
who that is.
I don't.
Brave New World.
No, I just
The
thought
Doors of Perception.
I just thought of Huxtable is what I thought of when you said.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Close, but wrong.
Wrong. So really, I mean, what were you thinking? Why did you want to have a?
I'm really scared of the hospital and medicine.
But you love pain.
Apparently, I love suffering. That's what stand-up is just a lot of suffering.
So, does it? I mean, is there a point where you just go like, you know, into this place where you're not feeling the pain, or are you feeling the pain the whole time?
I mean, it's like this animalistic kind of.
I'm talking about stand up.
Yes.
I'm just joking.
I am too. I'm talking about stand-up also. It's like this animalistic like feeling. When you're up there, you're just like my heart. This stage fright used to like be so debilitating.
Okay.
Because when my name was called, I used to have like my friends would have to push me on the stage because I was like, no, I can't do it. And then, but after you have a kid and you endure all that pain and all the suffering, and you're like, dude, if I can do that, I can get on stage for 5 minutes and tell some jokes.
Did the water birth? Did the pain subside at all, or did it say? Because some women are, which my wife doesn't like. These women that are like, I loved being pregnant. It was just so glowing. My wife was like, I hated it. I like my kids, but I don't like. She said if we would have more kids, if a stork would just drop them off.
I say that to my husband all the time.
You know what
if
I mean?
I didn't have to be pregnant, I'd have 10 kids. But I hated being pregnant.
What about the people that come up to you in the grocery store and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're glowing." Did you want to kick them in the face?
Yes, because I was like, "Bitch, what do you mean I'm glowing? This is sweat. Do you know how hard it is to walk from my car to this and then do all the grocery shopping and carry all the bags?"
Where was your husband?
At home.
Oh man, that's a good guy. He needs to do a course.
Dude.
He needs to do a course.
You know,
what
has
is Mr. Schwartz' first name?
Lee
Schwartz. Lee.
Yeah.
Shout out Lee.
So,
staying at home, waiting on the groceries to come in.
Dude.
Pregnant wife.
Yes.
What's the worst thing that he did during the pregnancy that he thought was funny that you didn't think was funny at all?
My husband was perfect.
Perfect?
Well, he checked all the boxes.
Okay, what boxes did he check?
He was great. He would rub my feet.
Oh.
He was that guy because he's 14 years older than me. So when we were starting a family, he was like just all about it, super excited, like the whole thing. And I don't think that I can't recall. Maybe he asked me for a blowjob.
That was the only.
I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Did he send you a note with like a box check, yes or no?
I wish, because I would have been like, no.
What's the worst thing that a person that encounters a pregnant woman can say?
You're glowing.
Okay.
And, oh, can I touch your belly?
Oh.
No, bitch, get away from me. Do you understand? I am not in the mood. I'm not in the mood. My body hurts. My feet hurt. Have you seen my feet? They're swollen. It's awful. It's like I hated being so when I started stand-up comedy again, I had just
Did you do a set pregnant?
No, because I had just gotten pregnant.
You don't like to take
and
risks.
I was like I'm not going to let my pregnancy stop me from doing stand-up comedy. And then I saw my feet as they were getting swollen. I was like, these people are going to be looking at my cankles. My vanity stopped me from.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, I'm not getting on stage.
Can you do a set on, have you done a set on being pregnant?
No, not yet.
How do you create, take me to this. How do you create a set? Like, because there's people out there that, and you hear this all the time. When you hear that you're a stand-up comedian, it's one of the, from the outside, it is one of the coolest professions in the entire world. When you're talking about the pain, all the stuff. And then a person will be like, you know what? You're a stand-up comic? And they'll say the same thing to you all the time. I've said some jokes to my family. I'm thinking about doing it too. Yeah. What's the difference between being funny to your family at Thanksgiving when the timing is just right to actually going into a field of strangers with different backgrounds and drawing them out and making them laugh?
Well, your family, supposedly, I mean, if you have a good relationship with your family, they love you.
They love you. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I could never make I don't know if I could ever make my family laugh. I don't know, but I can make strangers laugh, and in that environment,
yeah.
I thrive because I love being with people.
Okay.
In terms of like somebody saying, oh, I think I'm funny because I can make my family. Well, have you been in an environment where you can make everybody else laugh? Can you make a homeless person laugh? I don't know if I can do that, but
I would challenge. That would be amazing. That would be incredible. I told you about the drink, dropping the drink to the floor. You could put it on the table.
I know.
I told you about this.
I don't know. Now my hair's
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. We're going to have to cut this whole thing. We're just going to have to edit the whole thing. Thanks a lot, Linda. Ruined it. Ruined.
That's my whole life. I ruin everything.
Ruined it. Does your husband come to the shows?
No, he's been to about 2 or 3 because he has to stay home with the kid,
Now, how does he react? Because it's got to be funny. Like, we were at a set the other night, so we were at Playgrounded, and if you're in Carlsbad and you haven't been to Playgrounded, it's unreal. Hopefully, will you come back? Will you come back?
Of
Okay.
course, anytime.
So we were there, and this guy went at me. I'm an easy target. Like, if I sit in the front row, it's not like I look like everybody, and he went at me, and it was hilarious. The dude is gangster. And I started dying laughing, and I'm laughing with him. And then he hit a dude in the back, and the dude in the back got pissed. Got pissed.
Yeah.
How much does the crowd have to do with it, and the energy of the crowd, whether it be the warm-up set or anything like that? Does that impact, or are you that gangster where you could be like, give me any crowd? I'm the Michael Jordan. I mean,
no, I am not that
actually
good.
The Yao Ming, but I mean,
we got jokes.
But I mean, can you nail any crowd now?
No, absolutely not. I'm not that good.
What's your crowd that you know that things are going to go wrong?
Wrong.
Wrong. Then we'll go to right.
Wrong.
This is my therapy for you. You know what I mean? Humble.
They're young and they don't understand having kids and being like how hard being married is.
Okay.
But I think my set, specifically the one that I did, highlights a lot of stuff in my personal life and my family that a lot of people might relate to, like my brothers being in gangs and seriously, I mean, that's my life. Everybody has a thug in their family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like,
especially if you're from Utah.
Yeah.
If you're from Utah, I love the thug from Utah. Yeah. They're like, yo, I'm from the West Side. And I'm like,
and I drank.
Yeah, exactly. There's like 3 brown people. I'm like this. 3 brown people in all of Utah. Well, I'm half brown, so my dad was brown there. So he passed away, so there's only 2. So no, you didn't do it. So I love that. No, it's not like he just passed away yesterday.
Oh, okay.
He's fine. He's good. He's in heaven. He's hanging out. He's good. It's funny because when I try not to say that just came out, it slipped, but people will almost be like, oh, I'm so sorry, like they shot him. You know what I mean? Oh, my bad. I pushed him off the cliff. No, he's fine. He's good.
I mean, I feel the same way when people say that about my brother and my dad passed away the same year, and it's been a long time. I'm like, oh no, I'm not over it.
Yeah.
I'm not over it. You never get over it, but I've accepted it.
At what point do you, as a comic, use that as material?
Which part?
Anything, like say like a death or something that's really strong, because that tends to hit. I find, this is just my own, that when you take a risk like that, like, okay, I'll tell you a risk that I took. There was a lady came to me and she said, I wanted to tell you about, what was it? Les Brown. And I was like, oh, Les Brown. Like, we were at a personal development.
I love personal development. We can spend the next 10 hours talking about personal development.
That's amazing. Well, there's a group that's called Secret Knock that I was the co-host for quite some time, but it's the #1 networking conference in the world that you can't go to unless you're invited. So this lady is there, and she says, Les Brown saved my life. And then she verily, like you did to me just a second ago, like, bam, 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 bam. And I was like, okay, so I guess tell me more. She said, you don't understand. And I was like, okay, help me understand. She said, I was just about to take my own life, and Les Brown saved me. And I was like, damn, he's an EMT? Like, that's what I was thinking in my head. And then, so I immediately went to, how were you going to do it? And she was like, what? And I said, how are you going to take your life? And she's like, oh, I was going to do it in my car in the garage. And I was like, how? And she said, you know, like the regular way. You put a hose in the car, you put it to the tailpipe, and you go. And then she just looked at me, and I was like, hoes are always trying to bring me down. So I mean, okay, Linda. So it's just me and her, and I'm dying laughing. She has just said to me her life. She poured it out, and then she's like, the next morning, I stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning, Linda, trying to craft this thing. This is why I wanted to speak with you, because I was trying to craft this joke, but I was speaking the next day. And how do you say that to a crowd without being horrible? You're either going to go in.
That is a risk.
You're either going in all the way. If you half-ass that one, you're done.
I think part of it is like knowing your audience, but also like, you know, when it comes to crafting a joke, and I'm still pretty new at this, but I've gotten some sense from like performing and reading a lot of books about crafting stuff. The more personal you are, I feel like the better the jokes are and the harder they land, because that's when things become relatable. But as far as like crafting, there's so many ways to craft a joke. And
tell me the construction of them, because there's times where a person will be funny, right? They're like that person, I'm funny with my family. But then with you understand the principles of being funny and how to loop it back. What are the names of them, or these things that comedians talk about when you're reading about them? And when you're putting a joke together and something happens to you, do you use almost kind of a syntax or a cadence to be able to make that funny?
I think I understand what you're saying. So, I mean, number one, I think it's like a formula sometimes, I feel like, right? Like you have to already have some sort of natural ability to be funny.
Okay.
And then...
So it can't be taught. You can't just be that dude and then be funny.
You know, there's a lot of like debate about this, and I kind of lean toward the side of like, so if you have like an inkling of it, maybe, but anybody can like learn a craft, right? Even if you're not naturally funny, you can still learn how to craft a joke and say it and like mechanically get the laugh. But then there are people who are just naturally funny, who have like the ability to just be in any situation and make people laugh. But that, I don't know if that's like an advanced thing. But anyways, back to the formula. So there's like, I think there's like the natural ability and maybe like an instinctual thing, right? And then there's the craft of it, where you understand how a joke works. Like there's a setup, there's, you know, the punchline, there's a tag.
What's a tag?
A tag is like a something you add on to the end of a joke to make it even more funny.
Give me an example.
So like when I say in my set where I say, oh, you know, that part where I say, when my husband, ladies, like when my husband proposed to me, right? Like he said the most romantic thing I've ever heard, right? And it's the most romantic thing a man has ever said to me. And he didn't get down on one knee or anything because he's old.
That's a tag.
That could be a tag.
That could be a tag. Okay.
Could be a tag. Yeah. But,
okay.
So there's the craft of like crafting a joke.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the delivery of a joke, and then there's the performance of a joke. So there's like, it's dynamic in that, you know, there's the natural ability that you bring to the situation, then there's the mechanical aspect of it where you write the joke, and then there's the delivery of it, and then there's timing, and then there's the performance of it. So for me, it's like a dynamic, and that's why it's so hard for a lot of people. You see a lot of comics go up there and all, you know, they're just what they call talking heads. They're just standing up there and they say their jokes, and, you know, but then the more dynamic comics that you watch they can engage the audience and they command the stage when they walk on. Someone like, you know, obviously Dave Chappelle, he can like take you into a moment, hold you there, and then break you with one line, you know, so it's very dynamic, and I feel like the best comics have a little bit of everything, but they hone the craft. Like the most important part to me is like honing the craft.
How do you stay, like, do you watch comedy?
I watch a lot of comedy, yeah.
How do you stay from not, there's a word called mashak.
What's that mean?
Mashak means to rub off, right? So
Okay.
like somebody next to you, you'll rub off on them, or like a person that you're
like
hanging
even
out with.
energetically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so one of my buddies, Tim Story, he said he doesn't watch. He's a phenomenal motivational speaker, but he said he doesn't watch any motivational speakers. He said, because I don't want mashak to happen. I don't want them to rub off onto me and take their style. But watching the craft, how do you walk that fine line of, say, I find myself, if I'm listening to a lot of Bill Burr, love his comedy. I love how contrarian he is. He's hilarious. I find myself at times, cadence-wise, even just in my life, if I've listened to him a lot, my cadence will go towards that thing. And then I'll catch myself and I'll be like, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
Do you fall into, does that happen to comics?
That's a really great question. Because
Well, I have great questions. That's why I'm here, Linda. I just wanted to let you know.
This is amazing.
This
By
is
the way, this
great.
is the most legit podcast I've ever been on. I love this place. He's
And we
so
made you-
professional.
we made you
and he
look
made me
at-
perform in front of a camera.
I've got a live camera audience. That's what I do. That's how I.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's a really great question because I'm a studier. I'm always learning. I'm always reading. And when I watch comedy, when I watch it, if I'm watching it from the student aspect, I'm not watching for the jokes. I'm watching for the mechanics. If that makes sense.
Ah, okay.
Right? Like I'm watching for the mechanics of how they deliver, how they perform, how they write.
Uh-huh.
But when I'm watching it to enjoy it, all of that stuff kind of registers unconsciously.
Okay.
But when I'm watching it to enjoy it, I'm just there to enjoy the jokes. But when I'm watching it to study, I'm not paying attention to not necessarily like the jokes, but like just the construction of it. So it's a little bit, that for me is how I watch comedy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll watch
Who are you watching right now?
Well, who I haven't watched
Who?
is Ali Wong, because I don't want that to happen. The machak. I don't want that.
Got it.
Because I get a lot of
It's mashak. I said it.
What
I
did
said
I
it the
say?
first time, but you
I
said
butchered it.
machak. But you accused me. You accused me of not listening to you earlier.
Sorry.
So I just wanted to say that now it's even. We're
Yeah.
good. We're good now.
We're square.
Yeah, we're good. We're all good. I like the guns too. When you hey. The click click. Yeah, the click. How about guys doing that one? That's to any ladies. Is there any ladies out there, like single ladies? Are you like, I hope I get tonight? Never.
Unless you're a cougar, like, or if you're like into your, coming into your cougar era.
When would a cougar era, like, what would it be? What would be the line?
Early 40. Oh, like an age for young men, or what are you talking about?
Could you be a cougar in your 30s?
I don't know. I think it's like after 40s.
After 40s.
Yeah.
Is there like a starter kit that you have to get?
Well, you have to have at least one kid.
Okay.
And
one
at
kid.
least one divorce.
Okay. Is there anything you have to wear that that connects you to the cougar community?
I'm like, that. Oh, okay.
Oh, that. But
Yeah.
I mean, definitely at least one kid.
Obviously.
Do you have to have a bad relationship with the ex-husband?
Absolutely.
Okay, so a bad relationship with him.
Yes.
You're kind of mad, and you constantly throw in jabs about him,
Yes.
like inadvertently. I don't know if
Hit
that's the
it.
right word.
Hit it.
Okay, there we
Hit
go. Now, are there foundations of jokes and different types of them when you're going through like I'll see say like a surprise, right? So you threw a surprise in your set a couple of times where when you said
Which part was the surprise for you?
one of the surprises for me when you said he asked me to marry him, and I was like, oh my gosh, and then you said I'm going to be a dependent. That was a surprise because you were taking us down this road and then you just punch us in the face from like out of nowhere. Like that kind of stuff. When you're going through a set and you're setting up a set, is that it? Or are you just looking as a comic, or are you just looking, no, that joke worked, I'm going to put them together and then we're going?
Yeah. For me, it's like, when I delivered, so back to the first time I did that set, like I went into my rehearsal studio, I practiced for
How long?
God, it was like over 4 or 5 days, 8 hours a day.
Are you
like
kidding
40
me?
hours.
How much did the studio cost you? Or
Not
it cost
very
your husband?
much.
I mean,
No, it cost my husband for sure. You're right about that. It was like $15 an hour.
Really?
It was really cheap.
Okay, so $15 an hour, 80 hour or 8
40,
hours.
Yeah.
8 hours. How much is that?
I don't know. I'm not a math person.
It's $120.
Yeah, it's not very much.
It's $120.
Was it?
Yeah. And then you did it for how many days?
Like 4 or 5 days.
4 or 5 days. So $120. So we spent about $500, $480.
Yeah. Something like that.
$480 to $600.
Something like that.
I do math.
I don't.
Very, very rudimentary math.
I need a calculator or my son.
Abacus.
Or my 5-year-old because he'll do it for me. But yeah, so I would, after I rehearsed it, I had a show right in January. It was like the end of January.
Yeah.
My friend happened to be there and he recorded that set for me. And it was the first time I ever delivered it on stage.
Okay.
And that was the first time I ever heard the laughs. But like while I was working it out, I think for me, and I think a lot of comics will say this too, like you just intuitively know where people are going to laugh. And, I also build in pauses in my set.
How important is the pause?
The pause is like one of the most important aspects of a set. Like if you're just rambling on and on and on, you have to pause to number one, let the audience catch up to you. And number two, let it sink in so that they get it, right? But then the three, it's like, it's part of the delivery and the timing and the performance because in that pause, it gives you space to do other things like make a facial expression or take a deep breath or, breathe a little bit and even like make a comedic sigh or whatever. It gives you space to like really, ham it up, so to speak. And so I build those into my set.
Yeah. And
so when you said that part was a surprise, it's a punchline, so I've never heard it put that way, but it was, it was like, oh, and also it was like a real experience.
Yeah.
It was a real experience. I was like, oh, like we got married on December 27th.
Lee, I love you.
Okay. We got married on December 27th. We eloped and, to save money on the wedding because this is how he's very, very, very practical.
Yeah.
And I remember the day he asked me to marry him. Like we knew, he had already decided that we were going to get married. So we went and got our marriage license, right? And it's a Wednesday. He's in the bathroom on the toilet with the door open. And he's like, babe, what are you doing next week? I was like, why? He's like, I think we should get married by the end of the year. And this is like already like mid-December. And
Lee's got game.
I was like, why? And he was like, because of the tax benefits. I was like, okay, I guess I love you too. So we get married at the end of the year, December 27th. And then like initially I was like, fuck. I was like, that's kind of, I didn't even get a real proposal. And then I was like, oh, he wants me as a dependent. And it was like funny to me. So I was like, I'll build that into my set. So like, like the majority of my set is stuff that actually happened, words that were actually said.
Yeah.
All of it is true. Like even though the part with my mom, I took some creative license around like her getting pulled over. Like, but that actually happened. She called me and was like, I'm bad lady. And I was like, what happened? And she told me the story about how she like got arrested for driving home under the influence. And that was a real thing. And she's like 60 years old.
Well, it's incredible how you go between the like living in the South. Like, have you done your set in the South?
I not this set. Not this longer set. I haven't done that in
the
South
longer set will murder in the South too. I mean, I think your stuff murders anywhere. But for you to go when I saw you the first time, for you to go from, because I lived in the South, we lived in Memphis, and the South is a different world. There's a bubble over it, right? So in the South, you either grow up and then get the hell out and never go back.
Me.
Or you stay in Atlantis and never leave.
Ever.
So no one ever penetrates the bubble.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about the South, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, Texas. I'm like, that's not the South. That's its own planet. I'm talking about the South, the dirty, right?
Yeah.
But when you went from a Southern accent to your mother's accent, oh my gosh, I literally almost peed my pants because it is so dead on. It is amazing. It's incredible. How, like, when you have a set like yours that kills, absolutely kills. What about a sophomore album though? Like, when you start working, are you working on new material? What's the riskiest material right now that you're thinking, I would like this to work, but I don't know if it can hit?
Well, you asked me about my pregnancy stuff, and because that's so like niche and nuanced, you know, because I mean, there obviously a lot of women can relate to having kids, but like the whole home birth thing.
Oh my gosh.
That's like a different, you know, I don't know.
But I think from a guy's standpoint, it relates because if my woman comes to me and is like, hey, I would like to have a baby in the bathtub with no hospital, then I'm thinking, well, I would also like to, you know, have like stone square wheels on my car, but I'm not going to do it. There's actual technology that can help you out. Like, from a guy's standpoint, we relate to that. And like from a guy's standpoint too, I remember my wife being pregnant and a guy walking up. We were on our way to Antigua, and we're in the airport, and a guy walks up. Did you feel that flex? Did you feel it?
I felt
I just want to drop it on you.
I'm about to flex.
I did. I just
like,
dropped it. That 30 hours of labor, you see how I brought it back around? But bam!
Boom.
Antigua.
Got it.
Right? Small plane, too. It wasn't private, but it was small. I chose my own seat online.
Shit.
But we were in line, and this guy's like, oh, wow, you look like you're about to pop.
Yeah.
I was like, you bastard, you ruined my whole trip.
Now your mental is fucked because now you're looking at your wife like she's going to go into labor and we're not going to be near a hospital. And
well, that's not even what I thought.
No?
Damn, you took me to another place. All I thought was now my wife thinks that she's fat. And my wife was like,
true.
And she was like, do I really look like I'm about to pop? And every angle and all the stuff. And then but my wife is gangster. You know what she did? She went to the sand, dug a hole in the sand for her belly,
Hell yeah.
and just laid in there. It was almost like that little turtle.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Good for her.
So I think that's set. But when you go to do sophomore sets, or even, what would we call it? Do you call it a junior set?
I don't even know.
Would you call it a senior set after the third one? I just think of the sophomore.
I just say extended set.
Okay. So when you go to do that, will you just do a full new set, or will you add new and old and then go, or new and existing and then go into, and then let it flow from that point?
I feel like for me, my process, I would probably take the best hitting stuff that works in that set and maybe extend it.
Okay.
Or just take a completely new angle.
Okay.
And go in a completely different direction. But that's like, you know, that's something that's open for me to explore.
Yeah.
It's open for exploration when I'm ready to get there. And I think I'm like on the cusp of that because, you know, like I think that happens when life changes happen and things like, you know, like, I mean, having a kid, getting back into it. And for me, like what I wanted to accomplish with this particular set, my intention was to like just really let people know about me and my life, and that, you know, because when you see someone like me walk onto the stage, the way that I'm dressed, like there's a perception, right?
There was when we saw you, absolutely.
There's an automatic perception that, you know, I'm like the model. I come from a model minority family where we are hella smart and we do all this math and
live
we
in
are
Irvine.
like changing. Yeah, we live in Irvine and we're changing the world with our calculations, right? And that's not true for me.
Yeah.
My family, I mean, we're literal thugs. Like, I mean, every single person in my family has probably, you know, been to jail or has bailed somebody out of jail. And that's and we're just, and so I wanted to kind of break that stereotype with my set.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you look at me and you're like, and I say I'm in foster care, you're like, what? Right? Like, that's very unexpected. You don't see Asian kids in foster care, especially in the South. You're like,
my gosh.
You know what I mean?
You don't see Asian people in the South.
You don't see Asian people in the South. So it's like, so I'm taking like all of the anomalies out of my life and saying, okay, how do I build a set around that? How do I build all the things that make me different and make me unique in this realm, in this world? And part of that is like, wow, I just look at my life and I'm like, okay, Asian in the South, foster care, thug brothers, thug mom, you know. And I just kind of was like, okay, that's kind of like the core of the set, is like really just an extension of like breaking stereotypes.
Is there anything in jokes excuse me, is there anything in jokes for you off limits? Like I asked you before we started the podcast, you know, before we started recording, I said, is there anything off limits? You said a couple of things. I won't say them. So then that way you won't have to go down them, politics, religion. And then, but is there, like when you're going through and crafting or you're thinking about a joke, for you, is there off limit stuff, or is there things that your husband will be like, hey, Linda,
there's nothing
don't go
off
to that
limits
place.
For my husband. He lets me talk about his balls. I mean, and he wants me to talk about his balls even more. He's like, when are you going to do another set about me? I'm like, I just talked about your balls. Now, that should be enough.
When he comes to the show, do people like find him in the audience? Do you single him out? Will you single him out? Or do you let him be?
The last time I did, because it was the first time he saw that set, and I was like, oh, you know, here he is. And
oh my gosh.
And you know, afterwards people like, of course, you know, he has more fans than I do because of my set. I'm like, I fucking stood up here and told the jokes. They all want to go to him for financial advice, you know. Like I don't have any of that. So,
now what can we do as an audience? Like when you have an audience, when you came into Playground, and now Playground, it is a little bit different arena.
I loved it.
Okay, and because I remember when Aaron told me about it at first, he sat down. He was like, "Hey man, I'd like to sit down and talk about some ideas." And I said, "Okay, cool." And he's like, "I got this yoga studio, and we're also going to do stand-up comedy there." And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, I don't know, bro. Yeah. Then I went and I walk in. It's a small environment. It's different. It's a little bit different. And I was like, man, I'm really close to these comics. What if they suck? I'm going to be looking dead at, like, you can't hide. As an audience, what's the best thing for us as an audience that we can do to draw out the best in you as a comic?
Laugh when it's funny. Loudly when it's funny.
What about the people that get offended? They knew they went to a comedy club.
Don't go.
If
you're too sensitive to handle people up here speaking their mind, being honest, being, you know, true to themselves and their opinions and the way they view the world, you're going to get, what's that word?
Canceled?
Mashak.
Oh, Mashak. Yeah.
You're going to get rubbed the wrong way.
Some of it's going to rub off on you.
Yeah, something's going to rub inside. Like so our job is to deliver communication that's going to either touch, move, and inspire you to laugh, right? But sometimes the opposite happens and you get offended. And, you know, like you have to bring some self-awareness into your life. Like if you're, you know, going to see a stand-up comic that you've never seen before, you have to brace yourself and like tamper that that feeling like you're about to get offended and go say some shit to this comic when they're just trying to live their dream, you know? Like, let me live my dream. Just laugh when it's funny. That's how I feel about it.
What about hecklers?
Shut the fuck up.
Is there ever a time where an audience member, because we've had these kind of things before, and I've been like at the Comedy Store, we go all the time, and
no, hecklers are like par for the course.
They're good.
You know? Yeah.
Now, what about the dude, and there's always that dude that you know just wants to be heard. Like he wants the light on him.
Yeah.
And I love when comics smash him.
Oh, dude, it's like if you want that, then go learn the fucking craft. Okay, go take an acting class.
Yeah.
Go take a speaking class.
Yeah.
Go learn how to speak in front of an audience. Then come up here and see how hard it really is, right? And because it's the hardest profession on the planet. And then the hecklers are like, this is easy. I can take the mic. No, motherfucker, shut the fuck up. We're trying to work.
How hard is it when you're going up and you have your set and then something happens in the audience, or say like your son calls you? Like I remember we were at on a date and my brother-in-law, Brad, was babysitting, and he called us, and we deliberately didn't answer the phone because he was watching our daughter. But little did we know she had taken off her diaper, pooped in her hand, and smeared it all over this playset that's inside the house, while this 19-year-old, my brother-in-law, has never had kids, and it's the first time she stepped in the poop, he steps in it in his sock, he's all over the place. When that happens, right? And say for me, I have a tough time with this when I go and deliver a keynote. Some will happen to be in the crowd like that, not all that poop, but some will happen like that, Linda. And sometimes I'll divert from the set. How do you stay so focused? Because sometimes I just want to call it out, and do it, but sometimes not the right time.
I think that comes down to intuition.
Okay.
So
you're just saying you're better than me?
No,
I
would never say that. I would never say that because honestly, I have not had
30 hours of labor.
I've had 30 hours, and I've never had to handle a heckler like that. One time, but it was this is really crazy. So
does it take this long for you to tell the truth?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? Okay. So we just talk for a while and then you actually...
Because I forgot.
Oh, okay.
Because I forgot.
Okay.
So I had this show once in National City at this all black club or bar, and I get there super early.
People were wearing all black?
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. I love black people, by the way.
Shout out to James Dixon.
Yes, my people. So I get there early, and I'm sitting at the bar, and I'm talking to this guy who's a regular. I strike up a conversation with him because he has a T-shirt with hip hop folks on it. I was like, "Oh my god, I love your T-shirt." We start talking, and I'm like, "So tell me about the people who come in here to watch the comedy." And he's like, "Oh yeah." So he tells me about all these guys, and he's like, "There's these two hecklers that come in every single time, and all they do is fuck with the comics. That's their job." And he points one guy out, and he's like, "And oh my god, there's this one guy. I'm not gonna say his name, Joe, but he
What's his last name?
Kent."
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna keep it completely incognito. We don't want to shout out anybody. Joe Kent.
So he points to the door, and I'm my back is facing the door, and I'm facing him because I'm having this engaged conversation with him, and he's like, "Yeah, the other guy is Joe Kent," and he just walked in. I was like, "Joe Kent? Shit, that name sounds familiar. Does he go by Solo?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's Solo." I was like, "Fuck, I fucked him when I was 20. He's a heckler." So now this puts me on tilt. I'm mentally fucked over my set. Now I'm completely unhinged. And I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? What am I going to do? What is happening right now? Because, I mean, this just recently happened, last year. So I'm sitting there. I'm nervous as fuck. I look at my new friend, and I'm like, what am I going to do? He's like, "Just do your set." I was like, "Okay, I'm just going to do my set. I'm just going to do my set. I'm not going to worry about it, okay? I'm just going to do it." So I get called up. I'm up there. And I get to the point where I say, "And sir, you look like you can go for an Asian kid."
Oh.
And I looked at him, and I was like, "Sir, Joe Kent, looks like you could go for an Asian kid, and that kid was me." So I called him out, and he's like super embarrassed. So embarrassed, like just turns sheet white. And now I ditch my set. There's a pole inside this bar. I'm on the pole. I'm swinging it. I'm like, oh, so you don't want to talk about our relationship right now? You don't want to talk about how like, so I just went into like,
yeah.
So all these things just started like coming up about our relationship that we never got to hash out.
Oh my God.
And I was like airing all of our fucking dirty laundry in the whole thing.
How did it go? Did it hit?
I mean, people were dying. They were like done. And afterwards, after the set, I go up to him and we're cordial. I'm like, no hard feelings. This was fun. It's good to see you. You look good. And he's like, yeah, you look good too, blah, 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 blah. Are you married?
Yeah.
Still married? I was like, yeah, motherfucker.
Happily married.
I was like, you had your chance. And then, so I walk out, I'm leaving, and the producer of the show comes up to me. He was like, Linda. He was like, dude, you put that motherfucker on his ass. He was like, oh my God. Because he's been having to deal with him literally for like every show, 20 shows or however. Like he just comes in and heckles all his comics and he doesn't know how to, handle him. He was like, you murdered him. Oh my God, that was like the best night of my life. I'm never going to forget this. And like, but that was a very unique situation.
Okay.
And I felt like I was kind of, I could play a little bit because I had like history with him.
Yeah.
But if I were in a different situation and a heckler came at me, I would probably be the one that I would freeze.
Mm.
Yeah. Because I'm not that good. I don't feel like I'm that good with handling hecklers.
But you're quick. Like you're really quick, even before we started recording or anything like that. And and the further and further you get away from your microphone, then it does.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you can stay wherever you want. I'm just saying, like, you just seem to want to like be down the street with the microphone. I'm joking with you.
I know.
But you're quick. Like you're super, super quick in that type of situation. Like, so you have that lightning in a bottle, right? So that happens. You can't plan that.
No.
Joe Kent solo. You can't plan it. But then the tough part is, say if you recorded that, if they weren't there, they wouldn't understand it.
Right.
How do you, as a comic, allow that to be what it was and not try and recreate it? Because
you can't because and that's why when you go into, you never know what you're going to get. And that's the dynamic audience. That's the difference. And my set stays the same. I stay the same. My delivery will vary depending on the energy in the room. But that's the difference. Like when you walk into a venue, you have no idea who's going to show up. You have no idea the state that they're in. You have no idea what they're going through. And your job is to like bring them into the room and unite them with your set, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like the cohesiveness of that is electric. Yeah. And when you're with the audience, when you're present, when that energetic vibe, when that flow is happening, it's like it's the best feeling on the planet. That's why we chase it. That's why we want it. That's why we do what we do, right? And then when you have something like that, when you have a situation like that where it's like, wow, that was the best thing ever. You can't recreate that. That's the dynamic of like doing shows every week. It's like you cannot create the dynamic that's happening in that moment ever.
What muscle did it work for you when you went through it? Because there's a way to be able to get better in it, right? With our craft, because I even just noticed little things that as you were going. You were funny about your jacket earlier. You were talking about it. You're like, hey, I got a little fuzz on my shirt. And do I look bad? And you went into, it was like a little bit about the lint on your shirt. And then you were like, oh, no, fuck it. Like nobody could see it anyway. So it's those kind of things. Like when you went through that experience with Joe Kent, what was the...
We just going to say his name, Joe?
Joe.
Now he's going to listen to this and he's going to be like, I'm on the podcast.
We're going to find out. I'm bringing Joe Kent into the studio and we're gonna
He
have.
might be a wanted man.
Yeah, we're gonna have a
By the police.
a studio camera set with just one person in the audience. It'd be Joe Kent. Yes, I'm gonna put a poll.
We still gotta hash out our relationship because I still got some things I need to say to him about that. So bring it.
But when you went through that experience, because it's a like you abandon set and you just go and you kill. What did you learn that night?
Intuition, like that's the muscle that I'm always trying to like refine is like being true to myself and listening to myself, because as I was actually having a conversation
when you talk to yourself, do you talk to yourself in the Asian accent, the Southern accent, or the La Jolla accent?
My hood accent. I'm like, girl, listen.
That's how you talking to yourself? Yeah.
Listen, this is what we gonna do. This how we gonna do it. We gotta up level this game here. And then after that's up level, we're gonna go over here and do this. And then we gonna take over the world. Okay? That's how I talk to myself. But like,
what are you listening to when you do it? Because my wife, if you met my wife, Brooklyn, she is as gangster as could be. Like she's amazing mom. She's, an educator for Paul Mitchell. She does all these like amazing, beautiful, eloquent weddings. I mean, amazing. But she is straight listening to some Tupac and putting her hair in a ponytail, and she's good. What are you listening to when you're talking hood to yourself motivationally? That was the hood Tony Robbins, by the way, that you just hit. What are you listening to during that time?
Like music-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, 90s R&B.
There we
Tupac, Biggie.
90s R&B was awesome. It was 4 dudes, shirts off, going to junior college. Jodeci, yes.
Fuck.
But have you listened to the lyrics now that you have a child?
Jagged Edge.
Oh, my gosh. Let's get married.
Let's get married.
Yeah, that's a lot better than mine. My voice was bad right there. But if you were in junior college, you had no shirt, you had some baby oil, Diddy, and then and 4 of your brothers got together. You had a group.
Oh my God.
But Jodeci, damn. I don't want my daughter to listen to that music at all. But at the time, if somebody got you a mixtape of Jodeci,
I have a mixtape of
in the car.
Not in the car. My ex-boyfriend, Derek.
Joe.
No.
Did Joe get you a mixtape?
No.
He didn't. Did you get you a mix CD? No.
He didn't do any of that.
Nothing.
That's why we had problems.
Oh, okay. He wasn't sensitive.
He was not.
Okay, so go back to, was it Steve? Did you say Steve got you a mixtape?
Derek.
Oh, Derek. What was on the mixtape? Did he write on the mixtape too?
No, it was like mixtape. I love you. I think it was. Oh my God, it was like, because we were. It was like a long distance relationship. I was in Santa Rosa. He was in San Diego. He was the reason why I came down to San Diego.
Okay.
And he made me this mixtape, and I would listen to it every time I drove to the airport in my Honda Civic SI, electric blue.
Big ballin'.
Stick shift.
Yes.
Every time I would.
Hatchback?
It wasn't
lowered?
No hatchbacks. It was lowered with a ready exhaust, AVM, cold air intake.
Oh my gosh, that's not stereotypical at all.
I know.
It is not.
In my early 20s, I was a different person.
Did you dress hood too? Did you have some like old English hats that were personalized? Santa Rosa?
No, I didn't do all that. No.
Did you have dark lip liner with?
I did the dark lip liner
with some lip gloss,
with like the lip gloss with the nude lip gloss.
Yeah,
I did that.
Yeah,
and then the really really thin eyebrows. See, I have a bald spot right here on my eyebrow because I overplucked it and it never grew back.
Well, our cameras are HD, so your set will be able to point. I'm gonna put an arrow on that.
Colored in.
Yeah, colored in. There it is. Bald spot.
The bald spot.
Bald spot. So go back to the mixtape. You'll be listening to it, Electric Blue SI, that exhaust, whoop, 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 whoop.
And so on that mixtape, there was Jagged Edge. I think it was like, you remember I Gotta Be the One You Want.
Was that Jagged Edge?
Was it Jagged Edge or Joe? I don't know who it is.
I can't remember that one.
I think it might be Jagged Edge. We got to look it up. But there was like Jagged Edge.
Why don't we do, you know what we do? give me all the songs. I'm gonna make a playlist on Spotify and release it on the podcast. We're gonna do Linda's mixtape.
I gotta find it.
You gotta find it.
I gotta find it.
Linda's mixtape, and I'll make the playlist and we'll put it in the bio for the podcast.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Keep going.
I'll find all the songs.
Okay, show up to the airport. Do you valet in that bad boy?
I park in the self-parking.
You have to
pay
go,
like $25.
Do you have to drive like this over the
day.
top of a speed bump? Did you go sideways?
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, because you don't want to scrape.
No, I do all that. I did all of that.
That means you're hood. What else would you say signified your hoodness?
Well, apart from like growing up in the South.
Got it.
Growing up in Savannah Gardens, which is like it was the housing projects of the South. Like,
okay.
I mean, that's where, there's still a Savannah Gardens now, and
Was
it's where
Outkast
gangsters go
really
to die.
Was Outkast big at that point? What year was this?
That was like 90. I grew that was in the 80s when I was born and raised in Savannah. So like the 80s in Savannah Gardens, and the 90s was
early 90s.
Early 90s was my. Yeah.
So that was Southern Playlist at Cadillac Funky Music. That's the one word of Outkast's first album. Did you listen to that one?
Is that the one with the
Players
Quemina?
Ball? No, that was the second one.
That was the second one.
That was the sophomore.
Oh, that was a sophomore album.
That was a sophomore.
Yeah, my bad.
I'm talking Southern Playlist at Cadillac Funky Music. It's all one word.
Oh, I think I remember that one.
And
barely.
all the players come from far and wide, wearing afros and braids, kicking them gangster rhymes. I'm here to tell you, there's a better day when that Players Ball is happening on that air day.
Okay.
That was Outkast. That's the original.
Okay.
South.
I must have been too young for that album.
Okay. You are young.
I am. Tomorrow's my birthday, by the way.
It is?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
25.
Yes. You're so sweet.
Works well. It looks good on you. So give me another reason for signifier of the hoodness.
Oh,
so
the hood. Yeah.
We got the SI. It's lowered.
I might as well have been born black because I was born in the South to a hood ass family. Everybody in my family, thugs. I had a thug. My brother went to he went to prison. San Quentin, Folsom,
really?
Chino.
How long was he in?
I want to say he was in for like 2 or 3 years.
Did you visit him there?
I did.
How was that?
I visited him in Chino, and I remember I had just come out to California out of like foster care. My mom got me out of foster care, brought me back to California. We went to go visit my brother.
How long were you in foster care?
Not very long.
Okay.
I want to say probably like 1.5 years, maybe.
Okay. It's like a vacation.
Yeah.
Like a foster vacation.
It was great though. It was kind of life altering for me, and in the way that I relate to like myself and family.
Do you still hang out with them?
Every time I go back to Savannah, I hang out with my foster. Well, he was a biological son of my foster parents.
Okay.
His name is Russell.
What do you call your foster parents?
Oh, mom and dad.
Really?
Yeah, I still call them mom and dad.
Okay. Mom and papa? Or anything?
Papa. Yeah, but mom, and I call her mom. Mama.
Okay. Mama.
Yeah, Mama Mary and
So it's kind of like a blindside thing.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I guess. Sort of. Yeah.
Really white family?
But I didn't really white
Was
family.
it a super white family?
Yeah, but they weren't very wealthy. They were just a regular like blue collar family.
What's the best lesson that you learned out of that experience?
Well, I have I'll tell you this. I remember the day that I walked in to this foster family's house, right? I get picked up from school by my social worker. She has a black trash bag full of my clothes.
What?
Yeah. She's like, "We've placed you," because I had to stay when they took me out of my brother's home at the time. I had to go to an interim housing, which is they called it the Savannah Runaway Shelter, but it was like an interim housing for children like me who were just waiting to be placed in a foster home. So they finally were able to place me. I get picked up with this, she has like a trash bag full of my clothes. We drive up, it's like in the country, out of the city, in the country. I had never been to this part of Savannah before. And I was like, wow, like, these are really big houses. I'd never been into a white person's house. And we drive up the driveway. I get out of the car. We walk up the stairs, and there's a cage with a parrot that's balding. And I had no idea that it was a balding. I had no idea it was a parrot. I was like, oh, wow, what's this chicken? I was like, we going to eat this later? So we walk in. My new foster mom is there. I'm standing in front of her. She's holding another foster kid on her hip. His name is Jonathan. And my social worker was like, this is your foster mom, Mary. And she was like, and Mary goes, oh, hey, baby, are you hungry? Do you want something to eat? Can I get you something to drink? And like in that moment, I was like, wow. It like altered something in my heart, because I remember feeling, I was like, oh, wow. Like this is what it means to be cared for.
Wow.
This is what it feels like to actually have somebody care for me. And that altered everything for me. I was like, I got to get me a white family. I got to get me a white family when I grow up. I got to get these white people around me. So, but the biggest lesson, the biggest thing I got out of that was like, I think for me was like the caring and like just, you know, that feeling like what family actually is supposed to feel like, because mine was just so chaotic and so out of whack and dysfunctional, you know, and so like I take that and like I try to bring that essence and that feeling. I cook a lot for my friends and family. That's like the way that I can link my way of being around love and around like care to that moment.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you cook?
Everything.
Like what? What's your thing that you know if somebody eats it that they are just going to love a sister?
Okay. Whew.
You going traditional South?
I cook rich white people food.
You do?
Yeah. I make
like
a lot
small, good-looking stuff that makes you hungry afterwards?
Sometimes. But like, actually, I don't cook rich white people food. I make like regular, like, I like a lot of like, I make a killer roasted chicken with roasted vegetables, and like I do a really nice rack of lamb.
You do?
Yeah.
What do you do on your lamb?
Okay, so this is how I make my lamb. This is a secret, and I'm only telling you because it turns out perfect
won't tell anyone.
Every time. So I take a cast iron.
Got it.
Skillet.
Got it. Seasoned.
It's always seasoned. You put it on top of your flame stovetop, gas, propane, or whatever.
Okay.
Not an electric one.
Flex.
Yes.
Looking down on you guys
like
with
medium.
This is the time where if you do have a electric stove, you need to turn off the podcast.
Yeah.
Because you just got judged. Go ahead.
Majorly.
So
like it's like on a medium heat, and when I do, like, I use like ghee. You know what ghee is?
What is ghee?
That's clarified butter. That's the fancy butter.
Oh, that's rich white people butter. Ghee?
Ghee.
Ghee? How do you spell ghee?
Ghee.
What?
Ghee.
This is the first time I've ever heard of ghee.
You ever heard of ghee? You ain't never heard
Where
of ghee?
do you find ghee?
Well, you can make it yourself.
Is it sold exclusively in La Jolla?
At Sprouts
Near
and
the
Whole
cross?
Foods.
Near the cross?
By the cross.
I thought that you were talking about a different cross, too, by the way. I thought it was like, oh, that's a neighborhood. And you were like,
the
no,
cross
the
street?
actual cross. And then I thought, damn, she's about to get cross, because that's different in the South, too.
Yeah, I say that in my set.
I know, when you said that in your set, for me, it was one of my favorite parts, because I lived in the South, and my friend Stephanie Kachelski, she would say, I'm about to get cross. And, like, the person who knows, you know. But ghee, like...
It's just... It's just a fancy way to say clarified butter.
How do you clarify butter?
You put it on heat. You put it in the stove. So this is the way I clarify butter. I put it in the
have
skillet.
I have never clarified butter, but I'm going to start doing it now.
You're gonna get clear butter. That's what it
clear,
is. It's
just clear.
It comes out crisp. It comes.
You just
out
talk
clear.
about melting butter?
It's melting butter.
So why
But
you talk about clarifying it then? Because
That's
it's just
it's you clarifying the butter. You clearing out all the things and you're purifying the butter.
Okay, we're going to have to take you out of La Jolla for a little bit because you just said melting butter is clarifying it and it makes it ghee. That's some liquid butter.
That is the process.
That is
that is the mechanics of getting ghee.
My mother-in-law melts the butter for her pancakes in the microwave for 45 seconds. So now my kids are eating ghee because it's clarified.
Ugh. That's a hack way of doing it.
That's a hack way?
I don't know.
Nanny,
now
you
I'm
just
judging.
heard it now.
I'm sorry, Nanny. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm sorry. No. We just do it in a skillet.
Yeah.
We do it in a skillet.
Okay, so you clarify the butter. Bougie ass.
I know, I'm sorry. This is what happens.
She just
when
flipped her hair for you.
Schwartz.
Well, if you're listening on Apple, she just flipped her hair right when I said that with only 2 fingers too. So
back to cooking this.
Okay, this
lamb.
lamb.
So I put it on medium heat. I put a little bit of ghee on it.
Some ghee.
And I just season the rack of lamb with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper.
Okay.
And then I brown the side.
Got it.
But in the meantime, I am preheating the oven to 390.
390. Why not
Yes.
390? I never heard nobody use 390.
Because this is very
Okay,
precise.
go.
Okay. You brown it for 5 to 7 minutes till it's nice and crisp brown. And then you put it up. You open the stove. You put the whole skillet with the rack of lamb in the stove for 18 minutes. 18. And then when it's done, you set it out for a few minutes. And it's perfect. It's like just perfect. So super tender. It's like.
Love me some lamb.
Yeah.
Have you ever cooked lamb the wrong way?
No, I've always done it right.
You've always done it right. From the beginning?
Straight from the gate.
See, I didn't like it when we were kids because we had a friend that had a farm.
Because I like to follow directions, and that came from.
Where did the direction following come from? It came from the white people?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I was about to say because it don't come from a minority family.
No, because that's. I mean,
we just
you
got to
import the lamb from New Zealand.
Yeah.
They got to eat grass.
But I've had it gamey before. Like my mom got this grain or grass-fed lamb, all this stuff because we were broke, and my dad had a farmer friend, and he had this really high-quality lamb. But if you don't cook lamb right, it's horrible. And so my mom, we would have like lamb stew, lamb chops, lamb cereal, lamb gum. It was horrible. She would boil it. It was so horrible. Oh. And then I got older, and then I had some that was actually good. So like this ghee,
that's a secret.
and the purified. Yeah. Did we say purified?
It's clarified.
Clarified. Okay, so clarifying
But it is
that
a
butter.
sort of purification.
Purification, but that can't happen with 45 seconds in a plastic ramekin. You know what a ramekin is?
Now you're getting plastic.
You know what a ramekin is?
And the clarified butter that's supposed to be pure.
Yes. Do you know what a ramekin is?
I know what a ramekin is.
Okay. All right. Do you go glass on your ramekin or you go plastic?
Porcelain.
You go porcelain. Damn, you're bougie.
Hella. See, you can take I'm hood.
What's the hood part that you couldn't leave, and what's the hood part that you couldn't leave and that you took to La Jolla, and what would be the bougie part that if you had to go back hood and things went wrong that you could not live without?
The attitude.
The attitude you take into La Jolla.
Yes.
Got it. What if you went back the other way? Say Lee and you lost it all and you went hood. What's the one thing that you would be like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm going to take this porcelain ramekin, even though we're living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm taking the all-clad.
All-clad?
Pots and pans.
That you're just choosing pots and pans?
Hell yeah.
So my
life revolves around how good I eat, and I have never had fancy pots and pans. All-clad?
You're going all-clad. So you're going to check in to your...
And maybe... Yeah, go ahead.
Because you're going to drive up, because it's going to be kind of like a motel. that you're going to say? Kind of like Schitt's Creek. You seen Schitt's Creek?
No, but I need
You
to.
haven't? Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. You got to see it.
I've been seeing the clips.
Who now in your comedic career?
What
do you?
should I take?
Yes. What would you
Now
take? Think about it. Think
I'ma
about
think
it.
about
Come
it.
back to me.
Okay.
Do you want to go the Netflix stand-up special way? Do you want to go the end up on a comedic series? Do you want to do movies? All of the above? What is like? What's your?
I want to do all of it.
All of it.
All of
What
it.
would be what would be the first one that you would want to? Would you want to do a motion picture
I'd probably
first?
want to do a film. Yeah.
Film? Is that what they call it? Do they call it a motion picture anymore?
I think that
That was like 1920.
20.
Yeah, that was good. Do you want to?
You're an old soul.
Would you like to star with Charlie Chaplin in a silent film?
That would be such a...
Why did I say motion picture? I was
You're
just trying to think.
tuning into you're tuning into your old essence.
So would it be? I mean, which one would be first? Would you want to write? Would you want to write a sitcom about your family?
I thought about that, and that feels like a lot of work.
Okay.
Sometimes I just want to like read a script and perform.
And then bam.
Yeah, I like, with the accents and stuff, I feel like I could really do like some good character work.
What if they came to you tomorrow and said, hey, you got 2 weeks and you have the opportunity for a 45-minute special on Netflix?
I'd do it. I would do it. I would do it.
How would you prepare?
I'm going to write my set. I'm going to take it to the studio. I'm going to tape it on the wall. I'm going to take my little microphone and my little microphone stand. I'm going to do my vocal stretches. I'm going to do my body stretches. And then I'm going to try to do my set. And then I'm going to take it out to the audience.
So you got 15-minute set right now, right?
Yeah.
So 15-minute
Like
set.
20.
What do you think? Like, if push came to shove, what would you add in right now? As far as you don't have to tell me the jokes, but what type of material or subject matter do you think? If we said, "Hey, today, you just got the deal. You got 2 weeks. We're filming 45 minutes. It's going to be in a theater. It's going to be 1,200, 1,500 people.
Lighten that
And what
fire.
are we hitting?
We hitting the pregnancy, how I went to Trader Joe's when I felt like I was going into labor.
Okay.
We're doing that. We're doing more of my mom's stuff.
Yes.
All her crazy
Your
stories.
mom is awesome.
She's insane.
Will you have your mom in the audience?
No,
No.
absolutely
Okay.
not. No.
Okay.
We ain't like that.
All right.
But I'm going to make fun of her.
Okay.
She crazy. More husband jokes.
Okay.
I mean, God, I just feel foster care stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, like the whole.
So you got 45 minutes.
I would just pick out all.
You got 45 minutes.
I think I might. Yeah, but it's just the writing, refining, performing part. That's the hardest part.
Okay.
So yeah, Yeah.
So for a comic too, are you looking for any opportunity at all for a stage, a mic, and an audience?
Of course.
Yes.
Absolutely, every single time.
Because I was blown away with Playgrounded. I was blown away because at first when Aaron told me about it,
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, there's going to be comedians," and I was thinking, "You're going to have like Cousin Joe come
Right.
from the backyard barbecue,"
Right.
but all of you guys legit, like legit. And when I tell my friends it's in Carlsbad, walking distance from my house, they're like, "Where?" And I'm like, "No, it's right there." And then they're like, "But what type? I mean, what quality?" And I'm like,
Yeah, that's always
"But the highest, like
the risk.
I'm telling you, like when you did your set, me and my wife walked away. Oh my gosh, I was just like, just blown away. Your profession fascinates me. Your timing, your cadence, all those things. Like for me, I'm like, it blows me away.
Say more.
Right? It really does. And I think the more and more people that get a chance to be able to experience you, and what I would love to do, and this is a challenge that I would want to do for you, is at some point I would want to almost precursor your set. I would want to challenge you on this. precursor your set in meaning that either show a video to start off of 5-10 minutes of your material, and then you have to go off the cuff. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Because you have so much, like there's so many, for me, there's, when I look at you, there's so many different aspects. Number one, when you were talking about the Asian and Jewish, yes, the foster care, you could do an hour special on foster care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think of that kind of stuff. And when I say that challenging part, I remember I did it with a motivational speaker one time. His story was, he was a football player, wanted to play in NFL. He got a scholarship, and he played his first game. After his first game, he needed to do some painting to be able to pay for his college. He was 45 foot up painting and fell off, and as he fell off, he got paralyzed from the chest down. He talks about the experience of falling, and then goes through the darkness, and then the realizing that this was his message. And then he went on to be a Paralympic basketball guy, and amazing story. Well, that's his story. And then at the end of it, he would stand up and walk. And it was wild because you see this guy in the wheelchair. It's like, oh my gosh. Well, what I did to him, because I wanted to see what was in his heart, I told the story before he came up. And now he didn't have the thing that he had. He just had to be him. And it was the best performance he had ever done in his life.
Really? Well, I appreciate the confidence.
Does that work well in the comedy realm, or is that just more of like a dick move?
I think it would work really well for like a more seasoned pro. I don't yet view myself as a seasoned pro.
You don't give yourself enough credit.
I guess not, because so when you were sharing that part about like challenging me.
Yeah. Did you start sweating?
Yes. My heart was like pounding. Like just the thought of it, like, oh, fuck, I got to show up and do this shit.
But look what you did this morning. You did a set. I mean, this is crazy. Like you did a set to a camera this morning.
Yeah.
With no preparation.
But I don't. Okay, so explain to me so I understand what was so like profound about that, because I don't.
That's massive. I mean, because most people, you evoked, if you go back, like the people that watch the show, if you go back and listen, the cool thing is I wanted to punch all the listeners in the face with your material. So it's not like I did an intro and then started you. Like we started with your set. It's just like, hey, I'm Linda Schwartz, and you just went. And that is, I mean, I just don't think you give yourself enough talent or enough credit, in it. And now it's good because that humility is part of who you are. But I mean, you're really good at what you do.
Oh God, thank you so much for honestly, I've been feeling like, I mean, just to hear that acknowledgement, and I get that a lot, you know, but somehow
that was a flex.
No. I think for me too, it's like accepting that.
Yeah.
Because part of me still feels like I'm not good enough. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like that underlying thing is I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. What am I doing? I need practice. I need more time.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like, I mean, I know I'm funny, but it's still that sense of, oh God, I'm not like, if they really knew who I am, then it would be off the table.
I think it would be the opposite. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Again, I wish I would have just had behind the scenes, like you coming in here, you coming in here and
just me being a hot mess.
Well, no, you weren't a hot mess at all. But it was funny because like I deliberately, I didn't know your age. I assumed you were 21. But I believed because of your comedy that when I had heard it, I believed that, oh, wow, I think I can connect a little bit on hip hop. And it was a chance because you could have been a country bumpkin walking in here.
I love country too. Yeah.
Shit. Well, I don't like you anymore. I'm joking with you. I've just become aware of it. And especially having a 16-year-old daughter, listening to country is awesome. Because listening to Jodeci with the 16-year-old daughter, it's not good. Watching Coming to America with your daughter.
That's like one of my favorite movies.
Amazing. What's your favorite scene? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I mean, I just love the whole movie, but like the moment where they're at the engagement party, and it's like the fiance's family is sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Right? The Soul Glow family sitting on the couch. And then they like pop up and there's like the grease stains from their hair.
Oh, yes.
Like,
yes.
But I mean, that whole movie, I watch that movie like.
Oh my gosh. But it hits different when you watch it with your daughter.
Yeah.
I watched it with my daughter, the first scene. Do you remember the first scene where he's in the big like pool bathtub and they pop up and they like the royal is clean
yes.
and I was like, I gotta turn it off because my daughter's right here. My favorite though is Randy Watson. Sexual chocolate.
Oh, sexual chocolate. Yes, sexual chocolate.
So when's the last time that you took a risk on stage outside of Joe Kent? Shout out Joe, love you, buddy. I'm gonna follow him. He's got to be on Instagram. Would he be solo or would he be Joe Kent?
I don't even know. I gotta look.
The Joe Kent?
The solo
Joe Kent. Official. Because
main page.
Well, I remember I remember in Chicago I was doing a talk, and I was doing a talk at a church. So this is bad. But the pastor, I had talked with him the day before, and he had joked we're around the same age, and he had said about Randy Watson, and he said, I've always wanted to, because remember, he was the original Drop the Mic. And he said, sexual chocolate, everyone, stamp, and he said, and out, right? And the pastor said, I've always wanted to, that was me, I've always wanted to do that, but I'm a pastor. So I was like, I'm talking tomorrow, but I didn't tell him. And I got done with my talk. I did an altar call, like 45 people gave their heart to the Lord. And I said amen after the prayer, and I said, sexual chocolate, I'm out. And I just dropped the mic. And everyone in the church was like, what just happened? When's the last time that on stage you took a risk?
Like that? Mm-hmm. Never.
Really?
That's hard to admit.
Do you ever like, do comedians challenge each other? Because, like, keynote speakers will challenge each other. Like, we'll say, okay, give me a word. And we'll call a friend and say, give me a word. And they'll be like, hippopotamus. And you have to add it into your set without saying, hey, I have to say hippopotamus. You have to be like, oh my gosh, this
incorporated
this
into
thing
a
was,
story
unbearable. And I felt like the weight of a hippopotamus on top of me. And then you go. Do comics do that with each other?
They probably do.
Or is the set sacred?
Well, they probably do, but maybe in like an open mic situation. But I feel like the comic scene or the stand-up comedy scene is a little different because, we're just a bunch of insecure people who are trying to get together, and we barely talk sometimes.
Really?
Sometimes.
Do you guys talk with each other?
Sometimes. Like there's cliques that I feel like there's, and I could be wrong because I'm not part of any. Because again, I'm the outsider and I kind of just do my own thing.
Okay.
But and I'm a mom, so I never get to I'm never invited to, like if I'm in a room.
Would you go if you were invited?
Probably not.
Okay. All right.
Just because.
Would you just tell Lee, can you watch?
I know that sucks.
Huxtable or
Huxley.
Yeah, I'm just joking. I knew what it was. I just wanted to hit you with the Huxtable again. Do you call him Hux? You don't.
No, we call him Hux.
You don't shorten it.
No.
I love you for not shortening it. Yeah. I don't like when people shorten my name, except my brother.
Like Kel, they'll call you Kel.
My big brother calls me Kel, and I'm good. Anybody else, I'm like, you too
Southern,
lazy?
Though. That sounds more Southern.
You too lazy
hey,
for the other syllable?
Yeah.
That's a syllable.
The Southern, because lazy tongues come from the South.
Yeah, but they add syllables.
Sometimes.
Tien.
I have to pee. I have to pee so bad. 10.
10. Yeah, I remember that the first time, and a person kept saying it over and over when I moved to Memphis. I was like, what are you talking about? And then she said, you know what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. I want to make you laugh enough where you pee your pants.
I'm very close. I'm very close. Oh, I love accents. I love accents so much. Oh my God, especially the
Can you do
Southern.
impersonations too, or you generally do impersonations of like you do a little bit of your mom? Because this is, oh my gosh, that's your mom calling right now too. Yeah,
I bet you it is.
it is. I put that on Do Not Disturb too. Give me a little bit of
do my mom?
Give me a little bit of your mom. Give me a little bit.
Okay, do you want to have a conversation with
Yes.
me? Like,
Why'd you get pulled over?
because Ken, the cop, think I'm drunk. I'm not drunk.
Were you really drunk, Mom?
I was tipsy. I'm tipsy, but I'm not drunk.
How many drinks did you have, Mom? Why were you driving? Why didn't you just call somebody?
Who I'm gonna call?
You could get an Uber.
Not where I live. I drive my own. I'm the Uber. I Uber myself. Oh man.
Now
she's a trip.
how do you like with?
She is a trip.
How do you deliver it to Mom too? Because you're talking about like I have a daughter. And I think about that part of it, some of the jokes that you'll deliver, which makes me laugh so much. And then I think about, oh my gosh, my daughter saying them. And then I think, oh my, how do you deliver it to your mom? Or does your mom watch your material?
She doesn't even know what I do.
She doesn't. Awesome.
She
So
doesn't
good.
know what I do.
What does she think you do?
She thinks I'm a stay-at-home. She thinks I'm a rich person in La Jolla.
Okay.
And she's always hitting me up for money. That's what she thinks.
Yes. Does she come and stay with you?
Never.
Never?
She's never met my son.
What? Why not?
I told you earlier.
Would she show him the ways? Would she show him the ways?
We ain't like that.
No?
Nah, we ain't good like that.
So does Huxley favor you or?
Me, for sure. He told me the other day I'm his favorite person. Yeah. Until his Uncle Jay came and he's been staying with us. So his Uncle Jay is from Germany. He just walked in the house the other day and like Lee took a video of him like jumping up and down and, you know, hooting and hollering and like getting all excited. I was like, I thought I was his favorite person, but apparently it's Uncle Jay. It's not me.
Any of the family come and stay with you?
Just my husband's side of the family.
Not your side?
No, my cousin from Georgia comes to stay sometimes. She was here with her daughter over Christmas, yeah.
Cousin, that's the foster parent?
No, my cousin.
Like real cousin.
So yeah, my real cousin, my mom's sister's daughter.
But no. Where's any other siblings? So you had your brother passed away.
I have one brother that passed away.
Got
I have
it.
another brother, Jay.
Where's Jay?
Jay is with Mom.
Got it.
And they.
Is he handling business?
He ain't handling nothing.
No, I mean, is he handling business? You know what I mean?
Oh, like, is he still a criminal?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
He
Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, that's another story. He's just a whole different story. He's too long of a story to go into right now because...
Sounds interesting.
Oh, I mean, remember my set where I say he's a criminal mastermind of the family?
Yeah.
And that part was true where he would, like, come home with, like, chips and change. And he was like, I was like, dude, why are you coming home with all these chips and change? And he was like, I invented this game called Presto. I was like, and that was a real thing. Like, he would literally go to these vending machines in the middle of the night with this dollar bill that had a long, clear tape tail on it and put the dollar in, get a snack, collect the change, pull the dollar out, and was like, presto, I get a snack and my dollar back.
I love him. Can we have him on the show the next time? Like the two of you guys sit down?
He is not in the right mental capacity to be. That's what I mean.
Is he still playing Presto?
He wishes he was doing Presto.
Yes.
He wishes he could have a job like that. That would be a job. He ain't got nothing. He don't got nothing.
How often do you talk to him?
Not very much, but
You gonna call him after the show?
I feel like I should call.
I think we should. We should call him.
No,
we should call him right now. We could actually bring him on. What if we called Mom?
Bad idea.
What if we called Mom? That would be awesome.
We ain't doing that now.
If we called Mom,
that's riskier than me showing up on here doing this thing.
Okay, if we called Mom right now, okay, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, Mom, I'm on a podcast right now.
What podcast?
It's the greatest.
Tell me what a podcast is.
It's a great interview. It's with really awesome people. It's one of the best podcasts of all time.
Say who?
Say your daughter. Your daughter's on it. She's famous. She is a stand-up comedian.
What's that? What stand-up comedian?
She tells jokes for a living, Mom.
She a joke. Hell?
Will you come down to La Jolla and stay with us for 6 weeks?
She don't want me. She don't want me to come. See, now my accent's all fucked up. Now my mom's accent is all fucked up.
Now you're going to call your mom, your brother, the whole nine.
She'll be like, oh my God. Hello? Who this? What you want? She's so mean. What you want from me? I'm okay. I'm not even asking. I'm not even asking the questions. She's just like having a
conversation with herself. That's great. Yeah. So now there's the brother, and then there's
and then my eldest brother.
Your eldest brother.
Yeah, my eldest
Where's
brother.
He at?
He's amazing. He's in Kansas.
Okay.
He's a Marine.
Got it.
He retired after like 30-something years as a lieutenant
colonel, maybe. Yeah,
lieutenant something.
Okay.
Yeah, and he has he just became a grandfather. Okay. His eldest son just and his wife just had a kid in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I say this in my set too. Like, I feel like I won the jackpot with my husband's family, and my he's met my mom. My husband has met my mom for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's enough.
That's enough.
That's enough. You don't need to see her anymore. So clearly I still have some issues.
Do you find that all comics too, the best ones, do have that kind of dynamic?
I don't know.
Because we see it from a different side. We're like, oh my gosh, you made us laugh. This is so great. Your life is so hilarious. We want to interact with you after the show. But a lot of times it's kind of like maybe there's the interaction of like, thank you so much. But sometimes we think that it's this perfect joke land that you live in. You write jokes, you make people laugh, you're always laughing yourself, you're always happy. Is that the way that a comedian's life is?
I can only speak for myself, and all the other folks that I've ever met who does comedy, but there's that saying that it's tragedy plus time. Comedy is tragedy plus time. So I feel like, there's a lot of trauma in our lives. There's a lot of, my sense sometimes is that comics get on stage to like work out their shit. But the best ones already have their shit worked out and can like talk about it without being triggered and like view it from a different lens. So you brought up personal development earlier, and I do a lot of personal development. I'm always in something. I'm always in a class. I'm in a communications course this weekend. Yeah. I'm always reading a book. I'm reading like Psycho-Cybernetics right now, which is like a book about self-image and, how to alter that. So I feel like I've done enough work to where I feel comfortable enough to come on stage and talk about it. But there's obviously like still a lot more work to be done. Okay.
Is there anything right now that you're too insecure to joke about in your life that's happening right now?
Yes.
What is it?
I don't even want to say it. I'm just really horny. I'm 42. I'll be 43. on Friday.
You don't joke about that?
Not yet. No, I can't. No, no. See, like I'm having issues, like even talking about it.
Is there a time frame? Going back to, I mean, you didn't really answer the question about your dad or your brother, but is there a time frame for you where you say, okay,
what was the question about my dad and my brother? I forgot.
You said that I said that my dad passed away. You said, I'm sorry. And then we talked about that side of it. You don't remember, obviously, because you weren't paying attention.
I wasn't.
But is there a time frame for you till you joke about something that hit serious, right? Because some people, there is I think, too used joke that's like too soon when they do that. But there are things that literally, if they hit, I don't know. I mean, and I wonder, is there a time frame that you let it sit until you'll talk about it, or will you talk about it right away? Like hit it right away?
Yeah, I mean, for me, because I'm still brand new and I'm still like working things out, like that particular process, I don't think is, and for me, like with this particular issue, right? Like it would probably take a little bit of time, but I do feel like it's going to be part of like my, new personality, so to speak, because I'm coming into this new phase of my womanhood that is super normal, but it feels like it's just me.
Okay.
It doesn't feel relatable, but I know it is like a part of like the ever-changing landscape of a woman. If you get my drift,
Yeah.
And it's like, and also it's like, it's so taboo still.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it is still kind of taboo, but the younger people get away with it because it's like, dating and all this other stuff. But like as a mature woman who is coming back into her body, right, and like feeling the feelings and how to navigate that inside of a marriage where, things might have, you know what I mean? Where my drive is coming, because my husband is much older than me, like my drive is coming up and his is waning down. And so it's like, ooh, I'm just looking at all the fresh meat. You know what I mean? So like, that's like, I just want to, I want to go to a steakhouse. You feel me? When I got chicken at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that would cost you a lot.
I'm like, take me to a Ruth Chris.
Yeah.
And let me just look at the menu. That's how I feel. That's how I'm feeling inside. That makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, even that, like that's it's that part is so relatable. If you did, if we had the Netflix call right now, Mom, we would call Mom first and tell her, and she'd be like, how would she say, what does Netflix say it?
Who Netflix?
So, what would be the name of your special if you had to name it right now?
I'm bad lady.
Oh, I wonder how you would be able to write it in the accent. That's what I was thinking. So, Linda, I started the podcast because of my two kids. I've got a 16-year-old. I've got a 13-year-old. So 16-year-old McKenna, she's in theater, performing arts, singing.
That's lovely.
All that
I
stuff.
Love that.
My son is a sports fiend, basketball, football. He loves it.
Sweet.
I didn't want them to be... I didn't want them to worship idols. I just wanted them to be inspired by iconic people. And so that's why I have iconic people like yourself on the show. So what advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you use both their names, it would be awesome.
Maddox, McKenna, here's what I would say. I would say to be true to yourself, be true to your heart, listen to your intuition, and just don't give a F about what other people think of you. The sooner you can give that up, the more in line you will be with your purpose, and the more in line you'll be with serving the world with your gifts.
Linda, you're incredible. It's been an absolute pleasure. I want to have you on more. I would love to also. We have the Vibe Experience, which is coming. I told you about that, which is April 12th. And that whole day, the Vibe experience from 9 o'clock till 3:30, and then we have the Vibe room that night. I would like to call a shot and figure out a way to be able to get you to the Vibe room and have you as the first comic to perform at the Vibe room. So yes, I think it would be amazing. You don't have to say yes now, although if you don't, then you're a bad person. So I just think
I'd
it would
be
be
honored.
It would be hilarious.
It would be my honor and my privilege to
That
do
would
that.
be amazing. So you heard it here first. I appreciate you. You're unbelievable. I mean, this has been a incredible experience for me. And
For me as well.
Oh,
My
this is
heart
awesome.
is so full right now. This was so great. I know I didn't answer all of your questions,
yeah,
and
you
I
did.
left you hanging
No,
on
you
quite
did.
a few of them.
No, you did
but
great. I think you did great, and I love that part where the conversation goes where it goes. You know what I mean? Which I think is good. Look into this camera. Look into your camera. And talk to the young comedians out there that are maybe going through some of the things that you're going through. Is my stuff funny? Will it hit? Should I be doing this? What would that, if you had them and you're talking to them, what would you say?
I would say if you're a brand new comedian or brand new comic just coming onto the scene, I'd say, find a way to, find a, oh wait, yeah, I need
there
that.
we go.
I need that. I need
Yeah.
this. I'm so,
Shit,
so I'll
find
start over.
a way to your microphone.
I need to find a way to the mic, but I'm looking at the camera thinking that the mic is over there, but here, because I'm a little slow. But I would say, really focus on the craft, find a way to get to your own creative process around that. And the sooner you can do that, the sooner you'll find your voice, and write what you know, which is like, all the advice out there. But just, again, as I was saying to Maddox and McKenna, stay true to yourself, stay true to your comedic intuitions, and just follow those threads, follow those nudges until you get it right, until it hits, and get on stage as often as you can. Don't be like me and like skip the open mics. Go to an open mic or 2 or 3 or 5. Like, if you have the time, if you're young and you have the time and you have the commitment, that's what I would do. If I were starting over and I didn't have a kid, I didn't have a family, I didn't have all these other commitments, I would be on stage every single night at an open mic, and I would do it in front of a live audience. The sooner you do that, the better you're going to get.
Linda, you have been absolutely phenomenal. If you're watching right now or you're listening, what I want you to do is go in the link in the bio. You'll be able to check out all of the socials that Linda has. Check out where she's playing next. April 12th, she's going to be at the Vibe Room in Salt Lake City for the Vibe experience. It's going to be absolutely amazing. There is a way for you to be able to get there, and that's go to our Substack. If you go to our Substack and you become a founding member, you're actually going to get your the year worth of our newsletter, plus you're actually going to get a ticket to the Vibe experience. And so you're going to get that as a founder. So do that. But I want to thank Linda Schwartz at the highest level. This has been absolutely incredible. And we are officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.